Mother Nature doesn't have a surface that can stop this thing. It might not be the easiest thing in the world to control, but who would have guessed that a vehicle that never touches the ground below it would have such a wickedly good knack for demolition? Welcome to the future, where technology will make your wildest dreams come true. Welcome to the future, where amazing cars carry you aloft on a cushion of air.
Firebird 2 to Control Tower. We are about to take off on the highway of tomorrow.
Welcome to the future, where elevated highways soar high above the city, carrying you off to a perfect world. Well, it is the future. And at least we've got the cars carrying you on a cushion of air part figured out. The first guy to figure out how to float a vehicle on a cushion of air was this guy, an eccentric British gentleman named Christopher Cockerell. He ran a boatyard in England, and he wanted to figure out how to make a motorboat go faster. So in 1955, he built a device out of an empty cat food tin, a coffee tin, a hairdryer, and a pair of kitchen scales. Cockerell realized that if he forced all the air from the blower to come out around the edge of a circle, it produced more force with the same power. Genius. Knowing he was onto something, he patented it, and he came up with a rather clever name for it, the Hovercraft. Soon he was walking around with a 2-foot model on a leash, following him about like a floating dog that didn't poop. He tried it on water. It worked like a charm. Then he showed it to the British military, who promptly classified it as secret. And with the resources of a major aircraft manufacturer and financial backing from the government, Cockerell began to design a vehicle so advanced that it would change the face of transportation forever. To properly explain the complex mechanics of this top-secret machine, we're going to talk to builder and designer Rowan Richardson.
I was in grade 7 when I built this for a science fair, and I started out with deciding on building a tabletop model, and it kind of turned into this.
What is it made out of?
It's pretty much a lot of duct tape and a shop vac.
All right.
So yeah, basically the air from the shop vac comes out of this hole, builds up pressure inside the plastic casing until it exits out one of these 6 holes. And the coffee lid is here so that these don't just fly open and create a mess of things.
Are we going to try it out?
Yes.
Is there any advice you have for me before I go?
Keep your weight balanced. You will fall over if you lean to one side.
Like, this is potentially dangerous.
Potentially, yes.
Groovy. It's good. It's like salsa. Basically, a hovercraft is just a fan blowing downwards. The air flowing out around the edges traps a cushion of air below it and lifts it up. So obviously, Cockerell wasn't the only guy to figure this out. In rural Illinois, a family doctor named William Bertelson, without knowing anything at all about Cockerell's work, wanted a vehicle that would get him to his patients out in the country. And yeah, smart guy, he knew about the car. He just wanted something better.
As a country doctor, I had difficulty getting around my terrain. I would be called to a farmer's lane, which would have deep mud. I would be able to sometimes go down the hard road with sleet on it or with deep snow, and which the road had not necessarily been plowed between my little town and the hospital. So I reasoned that as a pilot I should be able to develop a machine which could go all over Illinois, as long as you could find one that would be steerable and controllable. We had to work real hard to get both lift, propulsion, and steering. They are frictionless and they tend to go downhill and downwind, and they have no yaw stability. They pivot around on their center. That's the worst thing about the air cushion vehicle. Unless the pilot has control over those things, the thing is very difficult.
Christopher Cockrell, meanwhile, was doing a little better. Well, actually, a lot better. With a team of aircraft engineers at his disposal, he had passed through a series of experimental models and had now produced a full-scale machine, the SRN-1. On the 25th of July, 1959, with Cockrell himself roaming around the deck as human ballast, and with the eyes of the world upon it, the SRN-1 set out on an 11-mile journey across the English Channel. The world's first practical hovercraft had been created. Welcome to the future. Back in Illinois, reporters from Popular Science came to visit Dr. Bertelsen in 1959. So he decided to roll the dice a little bit and let them watch some tests of his latest design.
It demonstrated its frictionlessness and some controllability. But then the next day we took it out on the water and I had no idea whether it would float or not. It did very well. It went on the water and was very propulsive. A lot of spray, but it certainly was buoyant. And as long as you had propulsion, you would move fast forward and you leave the spray behind. But when you didn't have very good propulsion, it would be spray from all sides. The next time we were out, I converted the engine to a different one. It had an ignition on the bottom rather than on the top, and that drowned out, and I saw it went to the bottom.
Well, Dr. Bertelsen's machines were experimental, to say the least. But when he appeared on the cover of Popular Science, he sparked the imagination of enthusiasts all over the world. The vehicle of tomorrow had become the vehicle of today. Suddenly, tinkerers everywhere realized that with a little effort and a bit of mechanical ability, they could have a personal hovercraft in their very own garage.
Okay, this is my father's and I hovercraft. It is built out of aluminum, as you can see.
It's very lightweight. It's probably 370 pounds in total when it's done. If the weight is too high and you're going into a corner, the light part of the craft, which is underneath you, tends to keep going, whereas the heavy components like the motor and gear drive systems and things like that, they stay where they are, and so your craft just takes off like a leaf in the wind.
Chris Barczynski has been a hovercraft racer since the 1970s, and he won at the World Championships in 2002. In 2004, his son, Chris Jr., entered the Junior Championships with his father's brand new fiberglass craft.
I don't know how fast I was going, but I was going fast enough. And the whole craft was totaled. But fortunately, I wasn't hurt at all. It didn't scare me too much. I knew it was going to happen sooner or later, better sooner than later.
Best drivers in the world flip over. It's the risk you want to take, you know? How much of it? How much guts do you have?
Enough about guts. Let's talk about skirts. The addition of the skirt blew the doors of possibility wide open for the hovercraft. The skirt is a big, flexible rubber tube with holes in the bottom, and it takes a vehicle that could barely clear the ground and lets it get 4 feet up in the air. Now we're talking. The British government licensed the commercial production of hovercraft, and Cockrell was installed as a senior advisor. It was the birth of an industry. Hovercraft came in all shapes and sizes. The world was suddenly full of them. Their most popular use was as ferries. They were fast, and it was a smooth ride. Obviously, the military loved them. They could drive them right up onto the shore and unload guys with guns. They could even cross a minefield without setting the explosives off. There were hovercraft crossing glaciers in the Arctic and making their way up rapids in the jungles of Borneo. Huge hovercraft were zipping across the English Channel in about half an hour, taking thousands of happy tourists to holidays on the continent. They were everywhere. So the hovercraft is no longer an experimental vehicle, and now they are so well designed and so safe that almost any idiot can drive one, as I am about to demonstrate. Chris?
There you go.
Nice. Am I going to need this?
Yes. You never know. First thing you got to know is never take your hand off of this lift throttle until you come to a stop.
What happens?
Well, if you're going 40 miles an hour and you have no lift, you could roll over and hurt yourself. You have to remember you don't have any brakes.
So in order to stop this thing really quickly, what would I do?
And preserve your safety. Just you're on full lift. Just stop quickly. You can turn it sideways.
You can't do it, can you? I'm anxious to get going.
Okay, so he's on full lift all the time.
Yeah. So he leads the same as on the...
Yeah, leading
Same
is...
as on the snowmobile, right?
Yeah, you lean. Yeah. That's same thing, yeah.
Get that boy of yours to bring that thing back here. Let's give it a shot. Do you have a whistle or something?
Try not to do too much of that fancy stuff first time out.
That's just turning, Chris. Twists all over the place. The craft could be moving forward, but you could be looking sideways. It's wild. Here we go. This is a creepy device.
And do your fancy stuff out there.
I wasn't trying to do fancy stuff. Hovercraft enthusiasts are out there, and I'm talking way out there, but they're not exactly common. Every now and then, though, they make an effort to get together, even if they have to drive for hours to do it.
I built my first hovercraft out of a kit from England in 1970. This is actually my 5th craft that I owned.
I'm fairly new at it, so it's a little nerve-wracking. After you're out in it for a little while, the thrill started to come in and you get a little braver as you know how it handles and stuff like that.
Why is it fun? Because you're in a constant state of skidding. And that's what people like to do. I mean, I'm the type of person who will go out onto a parking lot and do donuts in the ice. It's great. I love it.
Well, the best thing is mostly the looks I get. Like skimming out across the ice with a bunch of ice fishermen and heading right for open water and just keep right on going. It's great. There's nothing out there like them.
For these guys, the hovercraft is like a skidoo or a jet ski. It's a machine built for fun. But in Canada, there are pragmatic reasons why you might want one too.
I bought the hovercraft 2 years ago. For us, it was a practical necessity. We're in the process of building a cottage on an island. The ice conditions can be pretty variable, and in some places on the lake, it can be 18 inches thick. But where you have some of the current, some of it can be as thin as 2 to 3 inches. And so the hovercraft enables us to go over the water, go over the ice through all conditions. If something happens and the hovercraft breaks down, it floats like a boat. It's pretty exhilarating. As soon as you hit the water and you give it a little bit more acceleration, your brain tells you this is not something that you should be doing. This is open water. It's a real rush.
The hovercraft is a perfect vehicle for a country that's covered in ice and snow for a good part of the year. This particular machine was actually designed for that very purpose. It was built for a research trip to the Antarctic.
I bought it primarily as a project to hopefully in the future to get into some ecotourism work in northern Ontario, the James Bay, Hudson Bay area. It was built primarily for use in the winter, so the skirting material is a heavier weight and the aluminum hull is a heavier gauge than some of the standard models. It has electric windows, there's a lot of features like that that add for its winter capability. Features that you wouldn't normally see on most craft.
Perfect. But there's another unexpected way in which the hovercraft is ideal for the frozen north.
The sheet of ice that forms over water is actually porous. It looks solid, but it has little holes in it, so air can pass through the ice. So, what happens when you place what is essentially a huge fan on top of the ice is that air pushes its way through the ice and displaces the water below it. So what happens then?
In 1971, a massive hovercraft had been built to move oil rigs in the Arctic. It was being towed into place when an accidental discovery was made.
They tested her over Great Slave Lake, and they were breaking ice. Quite significant thicknesses of ice. But there was an air gap under the ice, between the ice and the water surface. And it was quite amazing to see the ice coming through the cushion, and then the cantilever length got too large for it to support itself, and it just broke off.
They were curious. They wanted to see if a smaller craft, one that could actually move around by itself, could do the same thing. So they went looking for some thinner ice that they thought it could manage. But before they even got there, the next discovery happened.
We got up speed, and purely by accident, one of us happened to look out the back window, and there behind us was a wave in the ice, and the ice was breaking on the crest of the wave. The ice was varying between 30 and 50 centimeters thick, and she was breaking this ice at 16, 18 knots. And we said, whoa.
Ron Wade and his colleagues had just discovered high-speed icebreaking. But how does it work? Oh wait, I know. A stationary hovercraft makes a depression under the ice, but as it picks up speed, it also makes a bow wave. The sheet of ice gets lifted up by the wave and then just falls down into the depression under its own weight. The whole sheet of ice comes apart like a giant jigsaw puzzle. Once the secret was discovered, it became obvious pretty quickly that this was a great way to break ice.
We're located approximately here, halfway between Quebec City and Montreal on the St. Lawrence River. This is a section of the river that widens into a lake. The lake is approximately 25 nautical miles long by approximately 12 miles wide. The danger at this time of the year is that the large slab of ice can break loose and then drift down into the channel and obstruct the channel so that the Port Montreal would effectively be closed.
The secret of high-speed icebreaking is that at one particular speed, not too fast and not too slow, the hovercraft creates the greatest wave possible. They call it hump speed.
You go by feel, you judge by the attitude of the craft. For a craft this size, the hump speed is in the neighborhood of 18, 19 knots. You can feel the ice actually breaking under the craft by the jolts that you feel. Some people's idea of fun is driving a 65-ton, 75-ton machine with something like 2,500 horsepower and go around in circle all day long. So it's great.
It is great, and they can break apart a path 100 meters across in each pass. The lake, however, is 25 miles long, so even at that, the job is enormous. Conventional ice-breaking ships are bigger, they're heavier, use more fuel, and need more crew than a hovercraft needs to break the same thickness of ice. And while the icebreaker can tackle rough piles of ice that could damage the hovercraft can get into the shallows and cover more area in a day, thereby keeping more of the waterway clear. And so it is in the frozen landscape of our Canadian North that the hovercraft has found its true calling. In the rest of the world, the story, well, it just doesn't end that well. The ferries across the channel are gone now. They use too much fuel. Only a few companies are left making recreational hovercraft. There just isn't that big a market. There will always be difficult jobs to do, of course, military operations, for example, or the Coast Guard, or airports near the water that have hovercraft as rescue vehicles. But in terms of civilian use, their day, it's pretty much done. But hey, Dr. Bertelson's still inventing. Fortunately for his neighbors, he's solved that nasty little steering problem by mounting 2 freely directable fans on gimbals. And he thinks he's come up with a solution for our overcrowded streets and highways, the aeroduct, a network of elevated tubes where air-cushioned vehicles can transport people overhead.
You have a high-speed vehicle, very efficient, it's frictionless, and therefore ecologically very kind because you're not paving ground, you're above the ground. And when it's perfectly guided, it can be automated. So you have a very nice, happy combination of a very fast, automated, all-weather, extremely economical vehicle. It's be hard to beat for a new transportation system.
Well, perhaps. Perhaps Dr. Bertelson's aeroduct is the highway of the future. Its hour come round at last. Could the hovercraft still have a surprise or two in store for us?
Ever since its birth, the hovercraft has played a colorful part in our vision of the future. And even if it didn't end up revolutionizing transportation the way some people thought it would, it still plays an important role in many people's lives. And aside from that, it's fun!